The question posed today is, Swamiji, what is the way to control depression? Is there a spiritual cure for this material problem? Well, the onset of depression can have 100+ reasons, including physiological, genetic, traumatic events, and more. But one primary reason is lack of mood control. When these three thoughts are harbored, the first, my life has been a failure and I have not succeeded. The second, there is no goodness in this world. People are not helping me in any way. The third, my future is dark and I have no hope for happiness. These three kind of thought patterns, when they are held in the mind for an extended period of time, they affect the brain's physiology, and that becomes a leading cause for depression. The World Health Organization estimates that there are 280 million adults, or 5% of the adult population, suffering from this disease of depression. And the symptoms include fatigue, disturbed sleep, inability to focus, listlessness, a sense of hopelessness, and more. Since the reasons for depression are many, the cure must be holistic and include exercises like yoga, healthy diet, medical treatment, and counseling. But from the spiritual perspective, the toxic thoughts can be eliminated by the adoption of three kinds of attitudes. The first is the attitude of gratitude. During the Delta variant wave during the COVID pandemic, one billionaire in Delhi got affected. When his SpO2 count went below 84, he was rushed to a 5-star hospital. There he was on the ventilator for 7 days. And on being discharged, when his oxygen levels had stabilized, the billing clerk showed him a bill for 7 lakh rupees. That made Sethji start crying. The billing clerk said, "You are the Nagar Seth. Everyone knows your wealth. Are you finding it difficult to pay 7 lakh rupees? Sethji said, "I'm not shedding tears on the quantity of the bill, but it just reminded me that if the hospital expects me to pay 7 lakh for 7 days of oxygen, I have been receiving the gift of oxygen from God since the last 65 years. He did not send me any bill. At least I should cultivate gratitude." This sentiment of gratitude is one of the most powerful positive sentiments, and anyone can cultivate it to kick out negativities from the mind. We can all learn to be grateful for the air we breathe, the earth we walk upon, and the sunlight we receive. The problem arises in excessive materialism in our thoughts. Today's materialistic environment makes us believe that true happiness lies in fame, in wealth, in luxurious possessions and status. Over the social media, we find others having more of it than us. And when we strive to acquire them for ourselves and don't succeed, we become miserable. Instead of that, remember to count your many blessings. The second mindset that will help us is faith that God is our eternal Father and is looking out for us. Let us have faith in Him. Let me read to you from my latest book, Questions You Always Wanted to Ask. Have faith that God is our well-wisher. In the face of difficulties, when challenges seem colossal, we can feel hopeless. Instead of being despondent in such times, we must take solace in God's protection and compassion for us. Bhagavan is the best friend and well-wisher of the three worlds. He is our eternal Father and the benevolent caretaker of all living beings. We must have faith that God is looking out for us. One little girl was on a flight all by herself. She was busy playing her video games when the plane encountered severe turbulence and all the passengers panicked. A businessman was seated by the side of the girl and was impressed by her equanimity. He said, "Little girl, while the adults are agitated, how come you are so calm and peaceful?" The girl said, "My father is the pilot of the plane. He is taking me home." Likewise, remember, God has created you. All things are under His dominion. Allow Him to be your pilot by developing faith in His goodness and His compassion. Now that brings us to the third mindset. Depressed people are besieged with thoughts like these. People have done bad to me. Awful things happened to me. I was unable to succeed. People are not looking out for me. What will happen to me in the future? Now, do you realize the commonality in all these statements? It's all about I, me, and myself. Instead of that, if we can turn our orientation outwards and think of how we can help and serve others. Ratan Tata was asked in an interview that in his hugely successful life, what gave him the most happiness? He said that his life went through 4 stages. In the first stage, he was focused on acquiring money and did succeed, but it did not make him happy. In the second stage, he was focused on accumulating luxurious possessions, and he got many, but they also did not satiate his heart. In the third stage, he was launching huge ventures. He had the biggest steel plant in all of Asia and was controlling so much of the oil supply in India and Asia, and yet it did not give him the true happiness he wanted. In the fourth stage, a friend of his requested for a donation of wheelchairs for physically disabled people. Ratan Tata said, "I gladly committed for 200 wheelchairs, but my friend insisted I must visit and donate them myself. When I reached there, it was like a festival environment. The children on receiving the wheelchairs were so happy and overjoyed. It was a treat to watch. When I was about to leave, one child grabbed my leg. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "I want to see you carefully. For when we meet in heaven, I want to be able to recognize you." Ratan Tata said, "It was in giving happiness to the others that I found my happiness." So this orientation of I, me and myself, if it can be replaced by the service attitude, that becomes a very powerful antidote to depression. Some people have it naturally. There's a story I've heard about Mahatma Gandhi. As he was getting onto a train that had started moving from the platform, one of his sandals slipped and fell onto the track. Before anybody could say anything, he took his second sandal and chucked it on the track as well. In the meantime, the train had started speeding. His team members asked him why he had thrown his second sandal. He said, somebody will find the first and find it of no use. At least if there's a second alongside, it will be useful to someone. So remember these 3 spiritual tools for removing toxic thoughts. The first is to cultivate the attitude of gratitude. The second is to have faith that the Supreme Lord is your protector. And the third is to shift the obsession from the self to that of service.